Hey everybody, thank you for listening to the Halloween Horror Pod. We have another treat for you this week, as the entire Halloween team will be busy wrapping up Season 4 of the Halloween Horror Hour. So in the meantime, I wanted to show you a preview of what we have over on our Patreon, where you can hear exclusive content, interviews, and receive access to discounted merch, and even more that has yet to be revealed. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
It is our great pleasure to provide you with unlimited entertainment on your intergalactic journey. On this cable system, we receive over 1 million channels from the furthest reaches of the galaxy.
You get HBO?
No, that would cost extra.
Welcome to the Halloween Horror Pod, Patreon exclusive series brought to you by the Halloween Horror Hour, which, if you're a patron of this podcast, probably already watching the show. So thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited for this first episode in which Sam, hi Sam,
Hello,
and I are going to cover the entire Simpsons Halloween Special, A Treehouse of Horror.
A Treehouse of Horror. I mean, this is the first one. We're covering the very first one. I'm excited for this series, Ian.
Right. And this series, we're going to cover every single episode in the Treehouse of Horror series. Probably the additional Halloween specials at some point where they did like a whole episode on it that is not technically part of the THOH series. There's also comic books. There are Burger King Kids Club action figures. There is all sorts of stuff we're going to get into. And tonight we're going to cover the first episode. And if we don't go off on a tangent on a specific thing, like if we're not getting deep on like Danny Elfman doing the soundtrack or, any of that kind of stuff, it's because it'll come up in a later episode. We only have so much time per episode, and there are 38 of these. So I hope you join us on this journey. Sam, tell me about why Treehouse of Horror, why The Simpsons is something you and I have decided to dive so deep into.
Well, we are children of the 90s. I think The Simpsons is a quintessential part of growing up in a world that was trying to make fun of itself and learning ways to make fun of itself on a constant basis. As everybody knows, Simpsons did it. And Treehouse of Horror was that time where we saw Simpsons do more than what apparently they thought was conventional for TV, a little bit too unconventional. So they really were, quote, pushing the boundaries, although we'll get into that a little bit. I don't know how much pushing the boundaries they were doing. And I grew up on The Simpsons with my dad. He always showed me Simpsons episodes. He really took to the comedy of it all and through the animation. And then I was big on the Treehouse of Horror comics. Those are my number one way to experience.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I was born a little bit before you, and Bart Mania was just a huge part of existence. Everyone t-shirts, we were getting into skateboarding. I unironically told people to eat my shorts. Like that's but also like Treehouse of Horror specifically, like this introduced, as someone who couldn't afford a lot of comics growing up, and like EC Comics had gone like we were in the the 90s era of comics, so it was all superheroes. We didn't have these
there was some gruesome stuff, but
yeah, oh yeah, I mean Ghost Rider, all the Rob Liefeld stuff. Listen to our horror comics episode on the main feed if you want to hear me talk more about that. Being introduced to this like anthology style horror host variety clearly is a massive influence on what we do on the Halloween Horror Hour. We have segments, we have wraparounds, we have lots of parodies. There are many things we could call out as our influences. We could probably spend an entire like 3 hours talking about what our influences are on the show.
Like a lot of what we were talking about just kind of on the side as we were even creating the idea for these episodes was this was kind of the introduction for us for a lot of these horror films and shows we had not even seen yet.
Oh yeah, I mean I saw this episode. We'll talk about the parodies, but like I was introduced to the concepts of The Shining, Amityville Horror, Twilight Zone episodes, all sorts of stuff that I saw on The Simpsons before I ever saw as a horror fan. And
I'm assuming you'd already read some Edgar Allan Poe. at that point in
Oh,
your life?
actually, you know what? My dad used to read me Poe as bedtime stories, but I do believe it's because of my obsession with the third segment in this original episode, The Raven, because I thought it was so well done that
Nice.
my dad was like, "Yeah, I'm going to introduce you to the real thing." So he, the cask of Montetillo and the
Mhm.
telltale heart and all of that kind of stuff was very early reading for me. And of course, The Shinning. I mean, I had Stephen King books lying all over my house because my mom was a huge Stephen King fan. So, but this was really the first time I was introduced to any of that stuff. So I'm excited to dive into that. Yeah. So let's give the folks some content warnings.
Yeah, we have content warnings for a lot of different reasons these days. This starts out with a content warning from Marge herself. Apparently, we wanted a really soft presence in the room, telling families and kids to, maybe this time you should let the kids stay home and not stay home, but go to bed. And maybe we should let the kids not watch this one because it might be a little bit too scary for them. I don't know if that actually came to fruition, but apparently one of the executive producers at the time, oh, who was it? Jim Brooks. It was literally thought the episode might be too scary and wanted to come out with a content warning just in case. And one of our own content warnings for this show is Ian and myself are going back and watching these. How many? 30?
Yeah, there's at least 37 of these because they're at
Yep.
season 38 now. Yeah.
Yep. And so, we're doing this about 35 to 40 years in the future. And our access is through streaming, as a lot of you folks probably have. Our content warning is Disney has stretched the image, and their edit on streaming sites is actually a little bit different because this was originally formatted for TV, right? So what you got to understand
For
is
three
we're gonna.
TV. Yeah.
What's that?
4:3 aspect ratio TV
For three
compared to our
specifically TV,
yeah.
yes. Over broadcast airways, for a matter of fact, even before cable. And so we have to remember is when you
Q13
stretch.
Fox here in Washington.
Yeah,
I know
this is
there are
true.
other Fox
This is true.
channels out there, but
It was
Q13
Q13 in
Fox,
Washington.
that was
That
our
was
place. Yep.
at least in Washington, Western Washington at least. And what you got to remember is when they stretch that to the current aspect ratio for most TVs, they have to cut off a lot of the top and the bottom. And what that does, as many Simpsons fans know and love, is that Simpsons likes to hide jokes in the background and the corners of whatever you're seeing to really fill the scene. And so we might not catch all the jokes again. I think I'm going to go ahead and look for either a box set or versions that are not cut off by Disney's editing because I even noticed on this episode. I don't know if you noticed when they were one of the segments they're in the spaceship and they're kind of panning up and tilting up and down, panning left and right, but it looks like it's kind of all the same shot. They're just so stretched that they have to like edit it in a way to kind of draw your eye to what's happening. At one point, Maggie's bow is showing up. I don't know. So, folks, content warning. What you're seeing on streaming sites might be a little bit different than the original. I implore you to find the original if possible because Matt Groening and his wonderful writers always find a way to add in extra jokes. And with that, we're going
Yeah,
to start with a couple of our own.
yeah, speaking of the writers, speaking of the folks involved with making this,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
usually their names pop up in kind of a funny way and future aspects of the series, and I think that leads us to our first segment, which is the
The
tombstones.
tombstones. So, one of my favorite things that just right off the bat, we all know the backgrounds, we all know the quick names. Can't really catch it unless you pause it. So we've gone through and helped you find every single name on every tombstone from now until the end of this series. Okay, so every time we watch, we're gonna always look for names on tombstones, and I'm gonna rattle some off right here. We've got Ezekiel Simpson, Ishmael Simpson, Cornelius Simpson, Garfield, Grateful Dead, Casper, Elvis, Paul McCartney, Disco. These are all the ones at the very middle of the very beginning. Sorry, not the middle, but the very beginning of this episode. And within the same segment as it's introducing soon to be Bad Dream House, there's also more tombstones. We've got Sacagawea, Tonto, Geronimo, Pocahontas, Sitting Bull, Mahatma Gandhi, Crazy Horse, not so crazy horse. And then there's one that is just barely cut off on the left-hand side of the shot due to the editing. So we'll have to get you that
Mm.
one in a later episode.
There is one I think you might have missed that just says your
Ooh.
name here right across from Elvis.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it just says your name here. It is ready for you to be in the graveyard, and thank you for joining us here.
If we miss any, listener, please tell us. We'd love to
Yeah,
hear it so we can add it to our tombstone registry.
absolutely. And yeah, we should create an actual tombstone registry. That's an
Perfect.
idea we'll
Putting it
talk
down.
about off the pod. Um, I think it's interesting to talk about the stuff with Bad Dream House since we
Hmm.
went over that right now.
Sure.
They do bring in the trope of an ancient Indian burial ground, which is honestly all of America.
Yeah, yeah. At
And
this point,
so
no
there is
wonder we gesture at everything. No wonder we're at all of this.
yeah, but the idea that Native American spirits or indigenous First Nations people spirits are coming back to haunt us is a very Americanized thing.
Hmm.
It is unfortunately used in a lot of cinema. It is used in The Shining, the film, but it is not in Stephen King's book. So Kubrick added that in.
Oh,
Um,
odd.
it's clearly used in like Poltergeist, which was directed by Steven Spielberg and Toby
Hmm.
Hooper, or cocaine wearing a Toby Hooper pantsuit.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so this thing popped up a lot throughout the 70s and 80s and into the 90s, and thankfully it is a mostly dead trope. Yeah, and it has its own ancient burial ground at this point because I think we
I
we
think
just
every time you try and actually reference an ancient Native American or Indian burial ground, everyone kind of groans at this point. Like, yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of like the oh, and then there was magic, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just yeah.
It's
Anyway,
antiquated.
so just wanted to call that right out because we will be bringing that trope up later as we talk about Bad Dream House. But first, we need to talk about our wraparound. Do you have notes on this, Sam?
The wraparound.
Yeah, or I can just dive into it.
Which part specifically? I'm trying to figure
Well,
out what
this
you mean.
this introduces us to the Tree House of Horror, where Lisa,
Oh,
Bart,
in general, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
where they are up here. Was there
Homer's.
anything else you want to get to before we start talking about the episode?
No, I think we just dive into the segments. I'm really ready
All right.
to dive into
All right.
these.
So we're originally introduced to the titular Treehouse of Horror
Hmm.
as Homer is coming back in a sheet ghost costume from trick or treating, and we hear Bart and Lisa and Maggie up in the treehouse telling each other scary stories.
Of course,
Lisa is
Homer's looking for extra candy.
exactly. He's trying to score that extra. He's trying to steal all the Reese's peanut butter cups and leave behind
That's
all the warheads. Let's be real.
exactly.
But Lisa is just finishing up a iteration of the story. The call came from inside the house. This is a pretty regular trope, but is in a film that I'm drawing a blank on right now. I'm totally forgetting the name. Where the woman is babysitting and she finds out the call is coming from upstairs.
Of course,
And
Bart doesn't think it's scary at all. It's been done. It's been played. We
I
all
heard
know it's
this one
coming
in
from
third
inside the house.
grade. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And in Lisa's version, it's coming from downstairs. So
Oh,
I
instead
do
of
find that
upstairs. Got it.
I do find that cute that they made a little change there,
Hmm.
and that she was going with a story that ultimately influenced Scream and the rebirth of the slasher boom in the 90s. But then they pass the flashlight over to Bart, and he puts the flashlight under his face because uplighting is always spookier. And he tells the first story in this anthology series, Bad Dream
Bad dream
House.
house.
Homer! What's this thing in the corner?
I don't know.
It looks like a vortex, a gateway into another dimension.
Ooh, a vortex. Judge. Hey, pretty slick.
It was written by John Schwartzwelder and directed by Wes Archer. The actual voice of the house is Harry Shearer. I mean, it just gets right into the classic haunted house.
Yeah, so this story is mostly a parody of Amityville Horror, although it
Hmm.
does have some touched like some callbacks to like Shirley Jackson's House on Haunted Hill, the haunting, yeah, or the Haunting of Hill story where they have the vat of acid and the skeleton, the blood on the walls, the vortex, the floating
Mhm.
around, the getting too good of a deal on a house.
Yeah, exactly.
That all comes from the Amityville Horror. The Amityville Horror, of course, is the haunting of a family that gets a house for a good deal in Amityville, New York. And then things start going wrong with the house. It had a lot of issues. And they had gotten the house for such a good deal because the DeFeo family was murdered in the family by one of their sons. Ronnie DeFeo went around and shot everyone in the house. Recent research is showing that his sister may have been an accomplice. Um,
Ooh, did
to
not know
try and
that.
to try and get off of the murder charges. He said he was possessed by a demon. His lawyer tried to use that in
That's
court.
true. That's true.
The lawyer came back to the family, Greg, the stepfather specifically, and said, we're going to say the house is haunted. They wrote a book. Ed and Lorraine Warren showed up. Yeah, I mean, and there are so many iterations on the Amityville Horror. There is, of course, the Amityville Horror movie from the 70s, which has an amazing disco soundtrack, which is unfortunately not available on most places where you can stream the music. But if you can find
Mhm.
the Amityville disco, it is on YouTube. Highly recommend checking that out.
Is the 70 the movie from 79 is like the first film
That's
depiction, I would,
that's the
right?
first film depiction that is based on the book that was written by the lawyer, the family, and had Ed and
To
Lorraine
make it
Warren
realistic.
involved. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they made their money back. The family actually didn't make that much money on it, but they were able to get out of the house. And then, Ed and Lorraine Warren, be the shysters that they are, it got away with that with a lot of other families, mostly that were mentally ill and used their stories to write a bunch of books and make a ton of money.
Check the gas leaks in this house, right?
Yeah, yeah. Check for gas leaks. Check for leaks. Check your foundation. Like make sure you have a good inspector and you know
Check
what
for
you're getting
hauntings,
into when you buy
you
an
know?
old house. As an
Exactly.
owner of an old house that is constantly working on stuff, make sure you know what you're getting into. I was working.
What were some of your favorite tropes on this? Like blood
Oh
on, like, come on, make the
yeah,
walls
yeah.
bleed. Make the
Let's
walls
let
bleed.
Let's
No.
talk about the episode before I dive into more of this parody stuff because I would love to talk about more Amityville, like real stuff. But let's talk about this episode. So they buy the house, they come in,
Mhm.
and things immediately start going wrong.
But you can't really phase the Simpsons, right? I mean, their kids are already just by themselves in a treehouse telling ghost stories. You might scare Homer. He might want to leave, but it's so cheap. He's just not willing to see the literal writing on the wall.
Yeah, he saved thousands of dollars for those high
Thousands.
ceilings.
Look at these ceilings.
Yeah,
Oh man. Like, I do love that Lisa's just seeing the room expand and contract, and she's kind of like, "This is scary, but I can live with it." It seems like Maggie is just her Maggie self. Like, okay, well, I mean, if I
well,
have to get a knife out and trip over myself to try and kill my family, like, this works.
we know Maggie's cold blooded, but like
This is true. This is true.
she killed Mr. Burns. Spoiler
Whoa,
alert.
whoa, 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 wait, whoa!
Whoa,
Who killed
what?
Mr.
What?
Burns? I
Whoa,
don't know. Whoa.
what? We had to wait a whole summer to find that out.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, we get this house. Marge is the only one that's kind of skeptical about this. It's got 18
Hmm.
rooms. It's got a moat.
Hmm.
Um, Lisa starts, feeling like there's something evil going on. They find a vortex where they throw some trash in. Trash gets thrown back. Says stop throwing trash into our
Stop throwing
dimension.
trash. Get out. You're kind of rude. You guys suck. It's less of a haunting and more of a, wow, I really don't like you guys.
Yeah,
By
yeah,
the
it's an irritation. That's absolutely what it is. The house is just
Mhm.
completely annoyed with this
I
family.
can't believe I have to live with you. And they go through, of course, all the major tropes, and by the end, Marge has had enough. More than enough. She's calling the house out for just being rude, you know?
Yep, yep.
And finally, the horror house, of course, bad dream as we'll call them. Uh, all the walls turn white. It's kind of scared. It almost seems like in its kind of like tail between its legs mode. Bart starts yelling at it, "Hey, come on!" This is after the family has been, you know, enticed into running around in a circle trying to stab each other with knives. Now they're just mad that the house tried to make them kill each other. I think one of my favorite lines of the whole thing was, now I know we've had it's like I know we've had our differences, but this is just too much. Like Marge coming out of the kitchen, and
Yeah,
he's just like,
we've had our differences, we've
we've
had our squabbles, but we've never had knife fights.
we've never had knife fights. That's what it was. I
Yep.
only watched it last night, and you watched it more recently, so I'm glad
Yeah.
that because that line is just so we've never had knife fights, and that's
Yeah.
true. That's kind of a line you got to draw with your family, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean this touches on a ton of haunted house tropes. Lisa like having visions, experiencing the evil. Homer, kind of gaslighting his wife. This happens in haunted house movies where Marge is like seeing what's going on and she wants to get out of there, and Homer's like, "No, we saved a bunch of money. It can't be that bad." And after they try to kill each other, Marge is just like, "We're done." Then Bart's like, "Make the walls bleed, makes the walls bleed." Like it's gets on him. House freaks out. Marge freaks out, and she's like, "You're not gonna be rude to us. This is the most angry I've ever been." And then Lisa's like, "Hey, are you just trying to stop us from getting close? Like, what if we actually cared about you?" And the
Why
house
don't we
says,
live together? And the house
"Yeah,
goes, basically, I'd rather die without saying it. Let me think about it, and decides to implode.
yeah. What do I do? Live life with the
Life
Simpsons?
with the
What other
Simpsons
option do I have?" And
did
then
not
just
exist.
fucks off into reality.
I think my favorite part about that is we all saw it coming because we all know who the Simpsons are. And on top of all that, the house implodes. They look at each other, and then they're walking away from a barren wasteland. And Homer has nothing else to show for it except all the money he saved on a plot of land that does nothing.
He saved thousands of dollars on an
Thousands,
18-room mansion with a moat, man. In
thousands.
1992 in Springfield, wherever, I
Mhm.
mean, it
Springfield,
probably was,
Washington, Illinois.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably only like $100,000 house, and they might have gotten it for like $50,000 because of the
Wow.
DeFeo family murders, Just throwing random numbers out there.
Oh, it was probably less
Yeah, probably
in
less.
Middletown, America.
Yep, yep.
And that was Bad Dream House. If you folks liked it, didn't like it, found other references, please tell us.
Sam, do you have a favorite Amityville horror? Because there are now 66 Amityville movies.
Okay.
That was as of
I've
that,
probably only heard of 10 of them maybe.
that was as of 5 months ago.
To go off on a 2-minute tangent, is it just like people doing a lot of like fan favorite or fan films?
There's a lot of Tubi movies,
Got it.
including the Fangoria winner for Best Amityville Movie in 2023, Steve Rudizinski, creator of the Meowie series. Definitely recommend checking his out. It's a rom-com Amityville
Hmm.
movie. Usually, the Amityville movies, they have to include like certain tropes like flies. Also, you have to have like the pig, you have to have this very sensitive girl, you have to have the like overbearing father that is experiencing the haunting the most. These are kind of the tropes of Amityville. And the reason that everyone can make an Amityville movie is because nobody can copyright it because it's an actual town.
It's an actual house.
It's an actual neighborhood in,
Hmm.
is it Long Island? I believe it's on Long Island. But
Yeah.
it is,
It's in Suffolk County.
yes, so it is an actual town. So nobody can copyright Amityville, and therefore you can make Amityville whatever you want. And I've been trying to pitch Amityville Greenhouse for quite a while.
Okay, okay. Save it for season 4 or 5. Save it for season 4 or 5. Okay.
You heard it here first. It's time stamped. Amityville Greenhouse. But do check out Amityville Pool Party Massacre, which stars Diana Prince, better known as Darcy the Mail Girl from Joe Bob Briggs,
That's
which is
true.
coming out this year. I would say I probably like Amityville in Space and Amityville 3. It's about time, about a clock that is haunted, that is sold at an estate sale from the Amityville house and
How
then makes
quickly
its way
do
to
you feel like
California.
they got way like by the third movie was it just like, okay, this is off the rails?
Oh, by the second movie, it's
Okay,
completely off the
that's
rails.
what I thought it was
The-
like. I figured it was like the first movie was not a masterpiece, but like a classic, right? And then by the
yeah,
second or third, it's just kind of like, what are we doing? We can't tell the same story, but we
honestly,
can with different with different
the first
ways.
movie is kind of boring. Like if you
Mhm,
it's a vibe. Like there's a mood that's being
mhm.
set, but like nothing happens in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, let's move
But
on
there
to
are a
the.
lot of
Huh?
yeah. So here's my segment in Amityville. There are a lot of segue. There are a bunch of flies. That is
Uh-huh.
a prime thing about it, which opens up our second segment here. Hungry are the damned.
Come, earthlings, eat. Grow large with food.
There's something not quite right about this.
Girl's right. Let's get some applesauce out here for these pork chops. What are you looking at, buddy?
Your wife is quite a dish.
Ooh, thanks.
Where Homer is having a barbecue and there are a ton of flies.
There are a ton of flies. Hungry Are the Damned was written by Hungry Are the Damned. Sorry, it was Jay Kogan and Wallace Wolodarski, two very like classic Simpsons writers. They put together a lot of different, I guess, like classic Simpsons tropes, including in this case, and we'll get to it when they're actually show up in the episode. But some very favorite characters of any Simpsons fan, Krang and Kodos. But
The right
right before
billions,
we get
yeah.
to that, Homer's grilling up on the grill. The Simpsons are generally fighting as they do, and what triggers the aliens to come down? And I feel like there's like something Lisa says.
It's a
Just
mushroom cloud that goes
oh,
off of the
because
barbecue,
because
which is
Homer empties about a gallon of lighter fluid into the metal barbecue. Is that what
yeah,
like a gallon and a
yeah,
half?
which
I
is
think at
which
one
is a
point
very
Raleigh,
clear
when
reference
Raleigh and I
to
were
yeah.
watching together, is she was like, "What is this guy doing?" I'm like, "It's Homer Simpson. He's an idiot."
Wow, Raleigh was not familiar with this, so that's a question I'll have later for off mic. But
Okay.
no, I'm just kidding. Um, but but no, yeah, he dumps a bunch of lighter fluid in there, and we get a mushroom cloud, which a lot of ufologists, as I will refer to them, do believe that it is our capacity for nuclear weaponry and atomic energy that first attracted extraterrestrials to our planet to tell us
Wow.
to not blow ourselves the fuck up.
How about don't kill yourself, guys? We already
Yeah.
figured this out a long time ago, and we
Mm-hmm.
continue to not listen. But that
Yeah.
being said, is that being the beacon was pretty interesting that they would come and at least tell Homer to knock it off.
Yeah. So they do get pulled up in a tractor beam, which is
Or two,
yeah. In Homer's case, it does require two tractor beams to lift him up.
while he's in
Um,
the middle of eating a sandwich, of course. So he's eating the sandwich. They try and pick him up. He's scared, but he's so enthralled by his sandwich, he continues eating said sandwich. He's too fat for the first beam, and they just continue sucking him up anyway. I will call out one thing I love about The Simpsons is they regularly made fun of Homer for being fat, but he always wore it with pride. That man was always happy with his own body.
and the humor was always very practical, right?
Sure,
It was never like shaming, and at
exactly.
least in
I
my
That's
opinion,
exactly what I wrote.
my weight has fluctuated through life, and I've gone through phases of fitness and
Hmm.
being heavier. I've never
Hmm.
felt like I was being fat shamed for an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh,
Um,
definitely not. And
yeah,
and it's not necessarily a celebration, but they think they approach it in the right way. I mean, it's a comedy show. They do every joke possible. I'm sure there's things that are offensive, but I agree. I've never seen other friends of mine who are a little bit more overweight feel like The Simpsons did them dirty.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's kind of the point of this episode, right? Because we have weigh-ins and everything here. we are introduced to the Rigelians, Krang and Kodos, who are recurring characters. We are introduced to a third Rigelian, which I will be surprised if he ever shows up again because I do not remember him ever showing up.
No, it's mainly Krang and Kodos.
Yeah,
And his name we could pronounce if we had our tongues ripped out, I think.
that is what he said to Marge at one point, is that to pronounce my name, I would have to pull your tongue out. But then we later learned that his name is Sirach the Preparer, and he is the chef on the ship that is preparing all of these fantastic feasts that the Simpsons are inhaling, quite frankly.
Oh my gosh. That was like one of my main notes. Marge is murdering that plate. She has no qualms about literally shoveling, I don't know, 5 pounds of food in her mouth the first time we saw her eat.
Yep.
Homer's in the middle of speaking with these aliens, and Marge is just going boom, 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 boom. And then later on, we see everyone else who's just at the table. I'm sure, obviously, just for the animators to give them kind of action to do, but they are going at it. If anyone eats that fast, I would love to see you try.
Yeah, no, that's some competition level eating for sure.
Yeah.
At one point during the first meal, Lisa starts to get the ick a little bit, and she
Mhm.
says, something's not right here. And Homer says, "You're right. We need some applesauce for these pork chops." I thought that was pretty humorous.
Homer. Always
Yes.
thinking about the next step of
Yep.
food. I do
And we
like that the Rigelian, or Rigelian, the language Rigelian is just English, except it's
yes.
Rigelian. Or a good reference to, as you mentioned, off mic, to the Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
which is what this whole episode or this whole segment's based off of.
Yes, Hungry Are the Damned is a parody of To Serve Man, season 3 episode. It says 24 on Wikipedia, but when I watched it on Tubi, it was episode 23. So
Okay.
season 3, episode 23, To Serve Man. And there are 9-foot tall aliens called, I have their name here,
Kanamits.
Kanamits, and they're a race of 9-foot tall aliens that come to Earth. They bring about energy solutions. They
Gonna create a
basically,
utopia.
yeah,
Earth is
exactly.
now in unified peace.
And for every
Everyone's
one of them that
happy.
come to Earth, there are thousands of people that go to their planet. And, they're still translating the book to serve humans when our main character, Chambers, is about, like, he just does his way in and he's about to hop on the spaceship. And his kind of love interest shows up and says, "Don't get on that ship. It's a cookbook." And that's kind of how the episode ends, as he's shoved onto the spaceship.
Now, this one ends up a little bit different, right? Rigel 4
Correct.
is supposed to be still a wonderful paradise. Humans are roasted about their intergalactic travel. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Everyone in this room who's figured out intergalactic travel, raise your hand.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
I
they
thought.
haven't advanced past Pong by 1992, and we already had
That's
Super
true.
Mario World. So,
This is true. This
intergalactic
is true.
travel or Super Mario
Or
World?
Super
What do you
Mario.
want? What do you want? Super Mario World.
I am
Super
a
Mario
Nintendo
World.
fanboy.
Pretty good.
Marge continues to smash her plate as they go back. I mean, everyone is. I did like, honestly, one of the things I noticed is when they were walking, or when Lisa's walking down the hallway, like the first time, it's literally cans. Like the Foley that they're using is like they took, I don't know, you used to put a string through a large tomato can, and one
Yeah,
end has
phones.
been
Yeah.
opened up, right? And then you just kind of, but instead of the phones, you put them under your feet, like you put them as little, like, and you step on them, and you have like strings in your hands, and you kind of walk forward with them. That's what it sounded like. They're ding dong ding dong, and you could literally, I mean, it was so cool to just think of, like, oh, I can hear them doing the Foley for this.
That's
Like, it's
cool.
not just
Yeah.
like a digital audio thing that you got from somewhere that's been perfected. Like, it's still scrappy. It's season 2 of a show that hadn't quite taken off yet.
Absolutely.
And then we come to find out that the Rigelians are here to cook humans. Lisa has found a cookbook for humans.
So, How to Cook Humans is the
How to
original.
cook. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
not the one that she found, right?
No, the one she found says to cook humans, and then they
Cook
blow off
human.
a little bit of the space dust, and
And
it
it's
says
to
how to
cook
cook
for
for
humans.
humans, and then they
And then
blow off a little
it's
bit more space dust, and it's how to cook 40 humans, and
40 humans.
then they wipe it off a little bit more, and it says how to cook for 40 humans.
And the Rigelians are so darn offended that the trust, it's not even offended, they just know the trust is gone. And
Yeah.
once that's gone, they just have to say, sorry, humans, you could have had everything you ever wanted. We're going to have
And
to
like
take you back
Bad
to Earth.
Dream House, they cannot spend the rest of their life with the Simpsons,
With the Simpsons.
so they drop them back the fuck off in their yard.
You guys getting it? Are you Simpsons getting it yet? Oh, man. Hilarious.
Yep.
Well, hungry are the damned for sure. We're gonna see more of Krang and Kodos as we talk through these episodes. Sometimes I will say, like, just researching this, it's funny because it became an unwritten rule. Like, basically from the very beginning, it became an unwritten rule because Halloween special is like one of the best times to bring in aliens, right? There are definitely other times that Krang and Kodos show up. So once we get into other episodes, or maybe we'll kind of mention during a season other times we may or may not have seen them. But I will say that because they're the unwritten rule, the writers would actually regularly forget to put them in future episodes. So what you'll see is sometimes they might be an A storyline like Hungry or the Damned. Sometimes they just come in at the very beginning to introduce things. Sometimes they come in only during the credits to scare the Simpsons.
Yep.
Not really sure, but they'll be everywhere and anywhere in between these Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Yeah, and when we get to one of the worst episodes, like in season 16 or something like that, maybe we'll spend a little bit more time on their influence and history because we'll have more time to talk about that because
The actual
the
TV show,
segments
yeah.
won't be as good. Um, Quite frankly. All right, so that takes us to our third segment, which is basically a straight telling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven.
Ah, distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Huh? Sorrow for the lost Lenore. Oh, Lenore.
This is basically just The Raven. If you folks have not read the poem, go ahead and read it. If you also haven't read the poem and don't want to read it, you can just watch this
episode?
segment
Yeah.
because this
We'll
episode
watch
does
this segment,
like
yeah.
like what Ian said. I mean, it definitely it tells the whole poem verbatim. So what the whole premise is that Lisa's telling it to Bart, who obviously doesn't want to listen to poetry. At this point, Homer's been outside just listening to these ghost stories that his kids are telling and has no idea that he's raising literal little monsters. I don't know if this is his first understanding that they're kind of crazy, but he's got to know by now at some point, right? The
And I
Raven.
love the setup for this segment where Lisa pulls out the book and Bart's like, "No, it's Halloween. Something scary just happened. What are you doing with that book, you nerd?" And she's
You
like,
nerd.
"I'm gonna read you the classic Edgar Allan Poe story, The Raven." And he's like, "That's a
Actual
school book." And
scary.
she's like, "Bart, don't worry, you won't learn anything." Which I read as not he's not gonna learn anything from the story, but even if Bart wanted to, he couldn't learn anything.
And so he chooses not to.
Yep,
Can't do
exactly.
it. Don't try it. If you folks haven't read The Raven, a recanting of a man who has lost his wife and a crow who comes in to bother
Lenora,
him and
yeah.
make fun of him for it and taunt him for it. Lenore,
Lenore, you're right. Lenore. Nevermore, because it rhymes with nevermore. Lenore.
Nevermore. And
Yes.
as we see Homer, is who represents the man in the chair pining over his deceased wife, and Bart decides to come in as he normally does to Homer and play some tricks on him and try and annoy him to hell. There's definitely the classic "Why you little" in there. As if anyone else is a Simpsons fan who's listening to this, that's a classic Simpsons trope of at least once every 2 to 3 episodes where
Yep.
Bart does something nefarious, obviously hurts
And
Homer,
child abuse is humorous.
and child abuse is funny. Uh, we all, The Simpsons was one of those first shows where it was like every character except for maybe Marge. Well, I shouldn't say every character, but the Simpsons in general were a family you loved to hate. They're the doofuses you love to laugh at because everything bad happens to them because they're kind of bad people. Well, at least Bart and Homer are. So I,
Yep.
I don't say that child abuse is a good thing, but I will say in this scenario, that's the trope they decided to land on it, and it kind of hits every single time.
Also, Bart does give a proverbial "eat your shorts" before the first
Mhm.
"nevermore" is
Mhm.
uttered, which that is really important. And I also like how he interrupts the story about 2 stanzas into it to complain about, "Are we scared yet?" And Lisa's like, "He's establishing mood," and I love their back and forth on this. Um,
Yeah, it's a kid who doesn't understand why it's scary because he doesn't understand literary devices, and another kid who's like, yeah, if you had half a brain, you would understand this is one of the classics and a much scarier story than you could even possibly imagine.
Also,
Um,
I
uh-huh.
mean, this isn't parodying anything, so I'm just gonna call out in season 3 of the Halloween Horror Hour, we did have a really, really good parody of the Raven called The Raven, I-N with an apostrophe instead of a G,
Mhm.
and it's a very good at stop motion animation adaptation done from some folks over in Spokane, Washington. So head on over to the episode Space Madness and it is the penultimate short in that episode. Season
Those folks do
3, episode 3.
those folks do such a good job. That animation was just out of this world. I think the first time we both watched it, we messaged each other. It's like, "Yep, this is in. We got to watch it. We got to put it up." And
Yep,
it's not the longest thing, but it sure as heck is well done.
yep, absolutely. I mean, everything we show is a short film, so.
This is true. It's true. Oh man. I mean, what else do we have to say about the Raven? The Poe is a classic. This
Yeah,
story is a classic. I'm just gonna say watch it. I think the only other reference that's kind of been in this entire episode, a lot of the backgrounds have been quiet, I will say. But Bart as the Raven pulls out the Pet and the Pendulum, the Telltale Heart, and the Portland Letter, all classics from Poe.
correct. All very good reads as well. I think there's a future one that gets into the Telltale Heart. I'm
Oh.
imagining the Telltale Heart being done in Simpsons animation, but that might just be my brain able to do that. We'll see.
We'll have to watch out for it for sure.
Yep. So, yeah, then Bart takes us away in the end of the wraparound talking about how, Friday the 13th Part 1, pretty tame.
Yeah. The funny thing about watching that now, as I'm sure you'll agree, is nowadays looking back at Friday the 13th, it kind of is tame,
Especially Part 1. Part 1 is basically a murder mystery.
right?
It's about as
So,
terrifying as House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price from 1959. It's about as terrifying as reading any Agatha Christie novel. Um,
exactly.
it's it's just the one scene where Kevin Bacon's neck gets impaled with a spear because Tom Savini just got back from Vietnam and decided to make everything look like what he saw there.
Oh, that makes sense in terms of
Yep.
practical effects.
Yeah.
Funny that now we think about it and now we think it's a little lame, but at the time, of course, Bart was calling out the fact that this is actually it is scary, but in his mind, as a kid who's seen it all, it's tame.
Yep.
It's tame. Of course, back then people were freaking out about Friday the 13th Part 1.
Yeah. I mean, well, Friday the 13th Part 1 had been out for 12 years at that point. But yeah, I know that whenever that theme song came on USA Network and they were like, we're going to do a Friday the 13th marathon, I changed the channel.
And you guys are listening to Ian right now talk about that, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Homer's too scared. He is shivering in his pants. He's almost shat his pants at this point.
Yep.
The eyes dashing around are so good. It's like, it's so amazing. And of course, there's Bart there to bother him.
Yep.
Classic.
Absolutely. And then we get taken out with that amazing Danny Elfman score, which is redone with kind of a harpsichord vibe, but is basically
Hmm.
the Simpsons theme song. And we'll do a music dive at some point. That'll just end up being an episode, I'm sure, where we just talk about Danny Elfman's influence on The Simpsons.
Yeah, and actually,
And
it's interesting you mentioned the music because this is where Alf Clausen which is like he was the main Simpsons music score maker.
Yeah.
Did most of it actually throughout the years. It began on this episode. This is his first episode.
Oh, wow. That's neat.
So he did quite a bit. Oh, and then I forgot to mention this during the Raven. James Earl Jones did most of the minor characters and actually narrated it.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is
He was
Mufasa and
Sarek.
Darth Vader.
He was also
For
Sarek the Prepare.
oh, okay.
Like now thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
obvious. Of
yeah.
course that's him.
Yep,
Oh man.
absolutely. Yep.
Well, and
So
that's the whole episode, folks. I'm gonna say this. I definitely had a lot of fun both preparing for this episode, obviously by watching it, learning more about a TV show that is near and dear to my heart, and diving more into references that I will continue to learn more about as I, go on this movie watching journey with you, Ian.
yeah. No, this is super exciting. This was always like such a like it was an annual thing for me. And then
Mhm.
during the pandemic, I did binge, I think the first 20,
Oh my
but I
god.
did not make it all the way to the end. And during the pandemic, there was a lot of other like I wasn't like super paying attention. Let's just say
Sure.
that we were doing a lot of things to make sure we weren't paying attention to what was going on in the world. And
Yeah.
so I'm excited to revisit a lot of these. I know that
Mhm.
there is a little bit of a middle slog that's not as good, but I've heard
Sure.
that they've kind of turned around in the recent seasons, and there's been some really good parodies.
I
Yeah,
think I watched one of them ones in the last 5 years, and I think I was really happy with it. So I'm excited to watch some of them some more. Folks, if you have watched this first one and thought that it was scary or anything like that, this was where they did say they put on most of the stories that they thought were too scary for their original show. I gotta tell you, you have not seen nothing yet. They get
absolutely.
crazy, and they in the best way. Obviously, all
Yep.
this stuff had to make it on TV, so take that with a grain of salt. But there is much more blood to come.
Yes. Well, and thank you all of our Patreon members. I'll,
Hmm.
I would call out all your names, but you know who you are for right now. In the future, we'll gladly read thank yous. And also, if you have any comments, anything you want to send us, Halloween Horror Hour at gmail.com or message us straight on Patreon. We would love to take your questions on any of these episodes. So we will be back with Treehouse of Horror, episode 2 from season 3 of The Simpsons, next time on the Halloween Horror Pod Patreon exclusives.
Thanks for listening.